Perfect. So please be aware this meeting is being recorded, so please avoid sharing any protected health information. If you're listening by phone, you can press *6 to unmute or *9 to raise your hand. You can definitely pause us in the middle of our presentations to ask questions or enter any questions into the chat. If you don't want to come off mute, that's perfectly fine. Closed captioning is available by using the icon at the bottom of your screen. And if you need any accommodations, feel free to email John Barry, as he can definitely get that going for you. So we will go ahead and jump in. All right, so first we're going to start with just some general housekeeping, and then we have Stacey Osborne present with us. She is the owner of Beneficent, so she will do an agency spotlight on her agency to talk about how her organization, Beneficent, can support not only skilled nursing facilities staff, but also members of the community if they have questions on Medicaid eligibility and a bunch of other things. So we're excited to have her. But first, we're going to do just some quick housekeeping. So my name is Sammy Taylor. I'm the InReach coordinator here at HCPF, and I am the program lead for individual InReach. I'm just going to go over just some quick things. So first, I know there's been some new programs implemented into Colorado Medicaid in July, and then another one in August. I know Community First Choice was a really big one that officially started July 1st that we went over last meeting during this stakeholder opportunity, and then Individual InReach officially started July 1st as well. And then we also have the Interim Support Level Assessment, also known as ISLA, which started July 1st, and then the Nurse Assessor and Skilled Care Acuity Assessment. So we won't go over those in deep detail. I know there's been other trainings available, but I just wanted to highlight that there is a stakeholder opportunity for you guys to attend. The next one is August 19th at 11 a.m. So they will actually have the subject matter experts here at HCPF who work on those programs and implement it in oversight. They will have them available. So if you guys have any questions, thoughts, concerns, definitely attend that office hours just to get more information. And I will actually pop the registration link into the chat. So give me 1 second. So this stakeholder opportunity, what they'll do is actually for an ongoing basis, I see I put some other dates, but they always highlight what's called our priority projects here at HCPF. So those 4 projects, along with 3 others, are actually the main topics, but they will talk about other projects. So feel free to attend that meeting if you want more opportunity, or if you have any thoughts on those programs or suggestions on how we can change implementation or adjust it. So just wanted to highlight that. And then also HR1, this has been a huge topic of discussion. HR1 is also a big, beautiful bill. So I just wanted to highlight that Colorado Medicaid, we have created a lot of different resources to help people understand the impacts of this bill on Colorado Medicaid specifically. So one is a presentation that our leader here, Executive Director Kim Bepstetter, recently presented on regarding HR1 with the help of others at HCPF. So I am going to pop that presentation into the chat. This goes over really detailed the impacts of this on Colorado, and it really breaks down the numbers per county for the entire state for different Medicaid programs. It's really beneficial to look at. So I just want to make sure that you guys have that. And then I'll also be sending these resources and links out in an email. So I won't pop all of them into the chat, but I'll send that out in an email after this presentation. But the other one is understanding, the impact of federal funding cuts to Medicaid in Colorado. That has a bunch of different resources available that will directly impact skilled nursing facility, LTSS, long-term services and supports, and other aspects of Colorado Medicaid, including the work requirement and what that could result in and different things like that. So these resources just wanted to highlight because I know they're really important and everyone has them on their mind. So Just wanted to make sure that you guys know where to find that information. Awesome. And then real quick before we get to Stacy with Beneficent, just wanted to pause to see if anyone had any questions about any of those items. Awesome. Not hearing any, and I don't see any in the chat. So Stacy, I will go ahead and hand it over to you. Take it away.
All right. All right. Very good. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for being here and putting your information in the chat, so I kind of don't have to spend our time going over who's who in the room, and knowing that a lot of you are in communities, and then the Area Agency on Aging, I see you here. So good to have all of you. We're going to talk today and run through just some common myths. One thing that I appreciate about Samantha and what she's doing here is she's getting information down to the community and to people who are actually face to face with Colorado residents that need long-term care. And what we find is that a lot of times you guys don't have the correct information because it just doesn't come down. And so I appreciate the efforts being made here. And I think it's to each of your benefits to be on this meeting every month. I know I've sent out the agenda to our team, and our team is going to start attending also because it'll be helpful to us. We all tend to get kind of siloed in what we know. And in doing that, we lose sight of maybe a bigger picture, and it affects how we're able to really serve, I think, residents here well. With that, we're going to cover information today, and I'm going to share my screen here. Get this off and running. Let's see here. All right, you guys are able to see my screen, and now I want to move you to, let me move this up, and we'll all be good. Okay. I'm going to stay on camera. And if any of you, I know that most of you don't come on camera. The presentation that we have today is somewhat interactive. I think it's helpful if we have some dialogue through there. And so I can appreciate you're all on mute. That's helpful to everyone. But if you have a question, Samantha, if you'll help me and kind of monitor the chat to see if we pick it up, or just come off of mute and ask questions as we go. I am probably going to say some things that are contrary to what you've been taught or what you've known or what's said out there. We follow the guidelines that are set forth for Medicaid to the T. And there's many, many things in those guidelines that are not commonly known. The best way for me to explain that is that it's like the tax code. And we don't know all of the minutia in the tax code, and therefore we don't always get the deductions we'd like, or we've understood something one way and it's actually another. And the CPA kind of keeps us in the best place, given that they've read the code. We've read the code for Medicaid, and there are things in the code that are certainly confusing. And so hopefully today we're going to clear some of that up. Okay. I'm going to have you guys preview it like this. I know I could go to a screen share and it covers your whole entire screen, but we're going to walk through this way because it allows me to kind of see everything that I need to see. If I blow it up big, something gets lost in translation there. So here we go. This is our team. Today, we are a group that helps families figure out how to pay for long-term care without going broke. And most of you understand on the Medicaid program, people can't have assets. And so how exactly do we do that? And there are carve-outs in the program that you need to know about because so many times we have families show up here and they say, well, the care facility told me I have to spend down, and they use the words have to. And there are other ways to get where we need to go and get Medicaid online. I would say to those of you that are in communities right now helping families get Medicaid in place and having some difficulty because they have assets and you don't know what to do with them other than to tell families, sell it, spend it, and then apply. Those options a lot of times are hurtful to families because it's family property or whatever the circumstance. We can help families navigate that and then communicate. We communicate with the facility in this particular case. It could be assisted living or, or even we help people transition to skilled nursing and get those ducks in a row so you guys can get paid. And that's kind of the point. We want communities to know how to get paid and when that's going to start. And we have exact dates on that. I will tell you, we file over 200 Medicaid applications in the state of Colorado a year. Seems like a small number, but our 200 people are all people that have assets. We don't have one denial. We have 100% success rate getting it done. And you all know what it's like to work with these counties. At times you get a denial and you don't understand why, and your community can't get paid and all the hubbub around that. This is our formal invitation for you to call us. You'll speak with a case manager and we'll navigate you out of that circumstance if you in the community have filed for a family. But more importantly, we're a resource for families to get the right information, to get that straightened out, or just to start the process when they think they don't qualify for Medicaid. They actually do. They just have to get things in the right buckets. And we're going to talk through that today. So let me get moving here. So that's our team. It's an interactive presentation. Some of this presentation I'm going to skip because it's common knowledge for you guys. I am at the end of this going to give you an opportunity to give me feedback. Here's what it looks like. It's a QR code. You'll hold your personal cell phone up to the presentation, click on it, answer a few quick questions for me, but give me some feedback on clarity in this presentation. Was it helpful? Was it not? We do this presentation for families. We also do a little different one for communities. So that's what it's designed for. That's how it's going to happen. To give you a little background, everyone who works for me has been a caregiver or has experienced long-term care benefits and getting that for family members. This happens to be, my most recent person was my dad's brother, James, and we got benefits in place for him. That picture there is sweet to me. It's my dad shaving his brother who has Alzheimer's. But we've all kind of walked the path that our clients are walking and that your residents are walking. And so we are able to have really a measure of empathy, I think, that's required in dealing with these families. It's kind of what we're going to cover today is what options are out there, but we're going to spend some time busting popular myths so that you guys are absolutely giving the right information out. And then we'll talk about some requirements, but we're going to breeze through that. And we're going to talk about a case study that will give you really solid a story around how we would do this for a family and how that works. So we engage with families. Either we do the whole thing for them, but most of our meetings, initial meetings, are there to tell families how to get this done on their own. We'll send them all the forms. We'll help them get it done. But many, many families would ask us, what does this cost if we just pay you to do it? And most of them jump on board and have us do it for them, especially if they have some complicated circumstances. I will tell you, unashamedly, we do talk with people that don't have funds to pay us. They just need to get qualified and they've got stuff that's causing a problem to getting qualified. We have a foundation that raises money. We don't receive grant funding, but that is how we're able to serve that population as well. So people never will be stuck, with a bill more than what they would have certainly to pay. We want to make sure the communities are the ones getting paid. So, y'all all know the challenges for long-term care. People are afraid of running out of money. We talk a lot about that with families and how they're going to avoid that. And, you know, these payment options are typically how people do it. They private pay for a while, and then they do sometimes long-term care insurance if they have it. We actually help people get VA, aid and attendance dollars. Sometimes that's a better program and more appropriate, depending on a number of factors. But we do both that and PACE, InnovAge, and long-term care Medicaid programs. Very happy about the CFC program that's just come online as well. So we're versed there. I'm going to skip down. Y'all know long-term care pays for those things. Let's talk real quick about VA aid and attendance. You know, there's the requirements, and it's very similar to Medicaid, except for that the veteran can have almost 100. Certainly, it's saying that my default speaker has changed. If you can't let me that. All right, I think we're back. Anyway, under VA, they can have significant assets. Their home is exempt and a car is exempt under VA, just like Medicaid that you're all familiar with. But VA does allow them to have assets. And veterans can get about $2,400 a month in extra funds. It's a great program if you have veterans that have served during wartime. It's not taxable income. It comes directly to the veteran and then gets paid to care communities. So that program we're well versed in. This will tell you what they pay. And you can see this monthly amount, surviving spouses, single veterans, married veterans get a higher amount, and 2 veterans that have applied get more dollars. So the funding is significant there, and sometimes that's a better way to go, and will help people get there. I will tell you, just because our company chooses to, and I'm the owner, my dad was a veteran, my Uncle James was a veteran. We serve veterans at no cost at all. Doesn't matter if they have assets or not. We make sure our veterans are well taken care of in this way. Okay. All right, long-term Medicaid requirements, you guys know them. Over age 65, there's an income cap, 2901, pretty common stuff. The asset limit for couples, 157,000. That's a couple, so the community spouse can hold assets, not the applicant. And then 2,000 for single people. We are certified Medicaid planners. I'm curious if you've heard of a certified planner before, but there are now 8 certified planners in the state of Colorado. 4 of them actually work here, and 3 of them work with Jennifer Hansen at Helping Hands. And she's a friend and certainly someone that we work with. Helping Hands helps people with generally less than 3 months of spend down. Our firm helps people that have more than that get qualified. So that's kind of the difference between us. But we are the only certified Medicaid planners that also carry a license to help accommodate when we have way too much cash. The state allows us to put things in an annuity that does end up guaranteeing payment to a community. And so that's how that's used. And so those are available. You've probably heard of Medicaid compliant annuities. These are the regions in Colorado. We serve all of them. They have different amounts as the income that could be allowed. So first thing is, in these regions, 2901 is the income limit. But if you have an income trust put in place, and we help people do this every day, a person that lived, let's say in region, let's do 3. That's where I am, El Paso County. Anyone in these blue regions, if they had 4,000 in income in a month, they would still qualify for Medicaid. They just need an income trust. And many, many times we see people with income over $2,901 a month, and they've been told they don't qualify. In Region 3, you can actually have income of $9,290 a month in income for the applicant and still qualify for long-term care to pay for a community. So almost everyone, I've only run into 2 people in 10 years that could not meet the income requirement for Medicaid. Almost everyone qualifies as long as we have that income trust. So we'll cover that as people need it. I'm going to talk about some myths, and normally I'm doing this live, and if you guys want to put things in the chat, what you think your answer would be, then we're going to cut through these pretty fast. But myth buster number 1, long-term care Medicaid will pay for, most people think, only skilled nursing. But the truth is it will cover all those options. So here they are: non-medical home care, assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing, adult daycare. F is the correct answer, all of the above. Long-term care Medicaid under different waiver programs will cover all of those, but we meet the same qualifications for the one program. So the answer is all of those. Number 2, do clients have to sell their home to pay for long-term care? And I'm going to add to this, and I'm going to say, what if they're living in a community? Do they have to sell their home? The code doesn't say they have to. The code says they're allowed to have a home. They have to have an intent to return home, then they can keep their home. The state of Colorado will recover against the home what they've paid in the future when the person passes away. That's done in probate. So do clients have to sell their home? No, they don't. The answer is no. So often people are told by communities, you got to sell your home and you must do it. It's not true. There is a carve out for not selling it, especially if they have children living in it or other people like that. It would put those people out without a home. And so the state said, no, we're not going to require that for a number of reasons. So we can work around that with the state. Number 3, does Medicaid always recover a home through a state recovery? Yes or no? We've heard that they do. We're told that they do, but actually the answer is no. They don't always. There are rules and reasons why they wouldn't. Let's say a husband and wife. The husband needed care. He passed away. The wife's still in the home. The state of Colorado is not going to recover against that home in the future. So lots of misinformation around that. There's also children that we add to homes or disabled children. Both of those will create those exceptions. Myth number 4, can you give assets away in the last 5 years and still qualify for Medicaid? We all know about the 5-year look back. We're well versed at saying you can't give anything away. A lot of people think there'll be a 5-year penalty, and that's not what the code says. The code says, did you give anything away in the last 5 years? You can do it. That means the answer is yes, you can give assets away. And then they do some math. What's the value of the asset given away? And then they divide that by 10,475. For every $10,475 given away, there's 1 month of delay before the state will pay. So they calculate the penalty period. It's a penalty of time if you give assets away. You can do it. You must disclose it. Not disclosing it is against the law. That's why people go to jail for Medicaid fraud. And if it's big enough, I guess they could go to prison. We keep families from doing those kinds of silly things and being in trouble when they don't need to. So full disclosure is required. Can you do it? You sure can. Mythbuster number 5, if my spouse makes too much money, does that mean I can't qualify for care? We have 2 people. The person that needs care, their spouse makes $15,000 a month on insurance commissions because they were a fantastic insurance person. Can this person get care? The answer is the person can get care. It doesn't matter, no, what the spouse makes. So if my spouse makes too much money, does it mean that I can't get qualified for Medicaid? No. The spouse can make as much as they want. The spouse's income is reported on the application. It doesn't matter what they make. Okay, that income doesn't affect their Medicaid. However, for VA, aid and attendance, it's the income of both that count before VA will pay. So VA is different from Medicaid on this point. So I think it's why we get it mixed up. Mythbuster number 6, is a long-term care Medicaid only for low income and not for the middle class? Most people say, yep, that's right. It's for people who are broke. But the answer is no. It's also for middle class people who have some assets. They can have income. They have to use income every month for care, but the resources can be given away. The resources an applicant has can be passed to a spouse without a penalty. So it's not only for low income, it's also for middle class. Now, people that have a whole lot of assets, we would financially harm them if we got them qualified for Medicaid for a number of reasons. It's not that we couldn't get them qualified. We could if they had a whole bunch of money. We wouldn't. Ethically, we would not do it. Okay. So it is for middle class and for people that are low income. Mythbuster number 7, can clients qualify for long-term care programs if they can't qualify for long-term care insurance? Most people didn't qualify for long-term care insurance. They had too much, and insurance isn't going to qualify you if you need the insurance. So that's how insurance works. You can't buy insurance on a house that just burned down, and you can't get long-term care insurance if you need long-term care. And so this myth, the answer is yes, you can get long-term care even if you can't qualify for long-term care insurance. So that answer is yes. I'm doing a little time check. We're at 1:33, so we've got a little bit of time left. I'm going to do a case study with a married couple. Married couples have a different set of rules than single people. We find out there that people have heard all the rules for single people, but I'm going to talk about married people for a minute. Under the code, we can shift all the assets to the spouse that doesn't need care. Therefore, Medicaid in hand will pay the community starting when we file the application. They come back to that date, you do the assessment, the physical assessment, and we're able to get benefits in order there. The state's goal is not to have a spouse become destitute paying for the care of another person. Now, we just went over requirements earlier. You know, the spouse can only have access to $158,000 the day we file. In our example here, Mr. Johnson's in a rehab center and he's got to be discharged next week. And Mr. and Mrs. Johnson have a home, a car, a 401k, and they have $650,000 in investments. This was a real person. Their name's not Johnson, so I'm not violating HIPAA, but this was a real person who had been told that they have to spend their $650,000 and their 401k before we can get Mr. Johnson qualified. That's just riddled with myths. Here's what really happened in this case. All of Mr. Johnson's assets can be given to his wife who doesn't need care without penalty. It falls under the state's desire and requirement that they wrote into the rules that the spouse not become destitute. This happened to be a a husband who was 56 and had dementia, and his wife that was still going to live independently, and she was 53. She needed every bit of the retirement and the 401k money to live out her life as intended in the community. It was unfortunate that her husband got a level of dementia that she could no longer care for him at home, but he was quite young. So Mr. Johnson's assets can all be given to his spouse without a penalty. There's no penalty there. They can also be given to disabled children if that person exists. So a disabled child can also be old. There just have to be a child. So a 45-year-old child with MS has a disability designation. We can also pass assets to that child. In this case, Mrs. Johnson holds them and she can have all the assets assigned to her, and Mr. Johnson would then qualify for long-term care, and then the community can get paid. I'm going to do a real quick single person though. This person, we're calling him Jim. He's also a person we've had. Prior to application, he sold his property and received $260,000 in cash. He has a vehicle. We know that's exempt. He has a life insurance policy that'll pay $250 at death. April, you've got your hand up. Just told me.
So I'm borrowing April's
You're
login
not
to this
okay.
meeting. This is Mark Sanders.
I'm Mark.
Going back to that previous case, if the spouse then needed to apply for Medicaid, would the acquisition of her husband's assets disqualify her from being approved for long-term Medicaid?
It wouldn't, but she has to make those assets inaccessible. So we say it this way all the time. Hey, a person applying, a couple applying can only have $3,000 to their name. That's how we say it. The code says a couple can only have access to $3,000. Well, how do we make it inaccessible? So let's take that case. And now let's say Mrs. Johnson needs, let me get down to it here. Mrs. Johnson needs care also. When I have two people and they both need care that functions a lot like a single person, if Mrs. Johnson had $650,000, we're going to utilize what the state lets us utilize, which is a Medicaid compliant annuity. It's irrevocable. The state of Colorado is the beneficiary, and we can shove money in there. It comes out every month, only the amount we need to pay for care. And as that comes out, it gets paid to the community. So Mrs. Johnson has a lot of cash. She doesn't have access to it. And that in an annuity would pay for her care and ensure that the community gets paid. The state of Colorado is the beneficiary. So we're not shoving money somewhere so the state can't get to it. We're not doing that. We're putting money there, and it's a planning strategy that works really well. Oftentimes, Mrs. Jones, she may have even given away half of that money. If she's given it away, the state has a penalty. With what's left, we create the annuity to ensure payment to the community. We disclose all of that to Medicaid, and she will gain eligibility. And that happens often with a spouse, that the spouse will follow the first one that needed care. So does that answer your question?
It does. It also raises more questions. Just with your language, as long as we can show to the state of Colorado that a person may have $10 million in assets, but if we make all but 2,000 of that money inaccessible to the resident, they can qualify for long-term care Medicaid.
Under the rules, that's true. Ethically, though, the $10 million would earn far more than the cost of care. If we shove it all in this annuity, for instance, that annuity pays 1/2 of 1%. I would financially hurt that family doing that strategy. They would be better off shifting the whole 10 million to somebody and waiting 5 years before they apply and let the interest off the 10 million work. So your strategy, Mark, that you were talking about, could I get them qualified or could you? Yes, we could. We have to have a license to do the annuities. Yes, we could. Should we? We shouldn't. One, clearly they have the money to pay for care. And so, you know, the state would frown on that sort of Medicaid planning. And I think that they would probably take away some of the valuable exemptions to real middle class people if we were abusive in doing that kind of planning. Okay, so could you do it? Yes. Should we do it? No.
So what's the number? What's the ceiling number of where it goes from it's ethically okay to it's ethically not okay?
Yeah. I'd love to give you a hard and fast number. It does depend on, for instance, maybe the age of a spouse. Is there one? Typically right around 1.5 million in cash. I start looking really hard at, does that cash invested serve better than doing Medicaid planning? Okay. So it's super rare unless I have a really young spouse that I would take more than 1.5 million and protect it in the annuity structure that the state lets us use, and they've given it to us. So the state doesn't even have a hard and fast rule on the number, and it's because of these variables and the notion that the state doesn't want a spouse to become destitute paying for care. So that's a total gray area, isn't it?
And then one last thing, meaning that the big bulk of the money is inaccessible to the resident. The resident passes away, the state gets all of that money.
The state can recover up to what they've paid for that resident, you know, or that person on Medicaid. So let's say that the state of Colorado paid $500,000 in their lifetime, and there's still $700,000 in an annuity. Well, the state could go get $500,000. The remainder, that $200,000, would go to the next beneficiary, which is typically their heirs. Okay.
All right, thank you. That cleared it up for me.
A lot of times we're using these annuities when people sold a house, they gave away a lot of money to their kids. It's not recoverable, but we have something to do an annuity with because we know the state's going to give a penalty if they've done that within 5 years, right? And so we use it to get families certainty around how they're going to get care paid for long-term when somehow they let money out and it's not recoverable, right? There's also hardship cases we fought for in this area and won. And really, a lot of times communities have already accepted the person in and they're not being paid because of things that happened. We're going to be the partner with you to work that out so that the community can get paid. Okay.
And then Stacy, there was another question in the chat about compliant annuities. So when someone does have a Medicaid annuity, can the assets be given to surviving children in a will?
When you have a Medicaid compliant annuity, there are beneficiaries on it. And so I'm not an attorney. I won't, don't hold myself out to be. We work with a lot of attorneys on things like this, but I will tell you what attorneys have told me. The will doesn't govern any accounts with beneficiaries on them. That includes checking accounts. So you had $100,000 in a checking account and your will says the money goes to my daughter, but the beneficiary on the checking account is your son, the son's going to get that money. Beneficiary designations come into play before a will is probated. And so can they give it away in a will? They can put it in the will, but it's what that beneficiary is set up to be on the annuity that counts. Okay. Clear? Any other questions on that? All right. These are all complex things. You know, we have these meetings with clients and they have all these things that have happened, and we're busy verifying that they know what they're talking about. I have people that tell me, you know, well, that's in the trust and it's protected. We're going to look at the trust, read the trust, have our attorney give us an opinion on that before we file. And it's how we have 100% success rate, right? We're checking things out thoroughly before we file. Usually it takes us about, depending on how much they have, but our average time is about 2 weeks to get the filing done, and then another 30 to 45 days to gain approval. So we're very, very fast. Those of you that are filing these applications internally in your organization or in your community know that's really fast. We just have a way of getting families to get us the documents because they understand they are paying the bill until they get us the documents and apply. And so we have a really good way of getting them to cough them up and get them to us. We have communities that call us all the time because they cannot get those families to do what they're supposed to do in order to get paid. And so we'll help communities out in that way. Any other questions for me? I hate to go on to another example if you all have questions that you're thinking of.
Really, Stacy, I did have one question for you. I just wanted to ask, do you guys provide education to families or individuals or even organizations okay, go ahead.
We do. And we provide that. We have 2 classes a month, and you can find them on our website, doinggoodforothers.com. Our company name is Beneficent, but nobody can spell it and nobody can say it. It looks like beneficent, but it's beneficent. If you ask Siri, she'll say, that means doing good for others. So that's our URL, doinggoodforothers.com. And you can find out about classes there, or a better way is really just to call our office and ask Larice. We answer our phone all day long. And so that's the best way to get that. I'm going to come down here, just a couple key takeaways. Clients don't have to spend down to $2,000. There's other ways to get into qualification without spending down. These annuities are one way, giving stuff away is another way. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure communities are paid. Okay, that's our first priority, is that those communities get paid. Some people may be transitioning from a community to home, and they may have been private pay and want to come home and go on this new program. And we'll help them do that. We'll help them get there. We typically will do a 1-hour consultation. We don't charge for that. We want people to have the information, and we'll teach them all the things that are applicable to their situation. Again, we're certified Medicaid planners. We've taken a national exam that says we know what we're talking about. I think our track record of no denials speaks well for that. We've got over 200 reviews online that are 5-star. We treat people and clients very, very well. The outcome is solid. We've got great responses from communities that now know how they're going to get paid. They're not having to deal with their corporate office on accounts receivable. Why haven't you collected? We ensure the flow of that money to the community and it be what they require on the private pay side. And so we have ways we work with communities to do that. I think overall we improve the healthcare outcomes, because when you get certainty around money, people stop worrying about that. they get the care they need instead of halting things, going back home because they think a community is too expensive, what they can't afford. That initial consultation, we go over that so everybody has certainty around how they're going to pay for care, when will the state step in, and the community will have that certainty as well. So we're aimed at that always, people getting the care they need first, and then how to do it is second. All right. Couple of ways. You can get a complimentary guide just on some misunderstandings around Medicaid. I think some of you guys probably have had some misunderstanding. Those myths may have been enlightening to you, but we've got a complimentary guide, and you just can ask for that by email or call our office. We'll send it to you. And then call our office if you have families that need information. They just need to get it done. Or if you're a social worker and you can't get someone qualified, call our office. We'll help you unravel that. There's not a fee for that. We're doing that as really our give back to the community. There's testimonials. Here's the feedback. We're 10 minutes early. Snap a picture of that, please, and give me your feedback on the information we flew through. We actually only had 30 minutes, but there was someone else on here that didn't make their time, so I got a little extra. I appreciate that. I think hopefully that's helpful. And then while you're doing this, it's just 5 questions, I think. Tell me, ask me what other questions you have, or if you have a family you know of and it's a crisis, and don't tell me their name. Just tell me what's happening, and I'll give you a little how to get around that. Mark, you came off mute again. It says April, but it's not.
I know. I'm just keeping you on your toes.
Yeah.
So you've talked a lot about families. My question is, are you able to serve a resident themselves if they do not have any family members to support them?
We are. We will work with the social worker in the community, but we're able to get everything we need and get them filed and tucked away. Yeah. I mean, we're just laser focused on that one thing. A social worker has got multiple hats and things they're doing and spinning, and no wonder it takes you guys so long to get this done. We will get super focused and we'll utilize that social worker to probably get signatures that are needed, and things like that, pretty minimal. And then we'll take care of getting the filing done. Yeah, that exists a lot with residents that don't have someone here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for me? Samantha, you got anything for me?
So there was just another question in the chat. There's actually 2, and I know you highlighted on them. Just wanted to make sure that we cover them. So someone asked about your fees. Like, what do you charge? When do you offer free support? What does that look like?
We offer free support. Well, first off, the initial consultation is free. And in that consultation, we're giving people everything they need to do this on their own. Okay. So no holdback. We want people totally able to leave that meeting knowing exactly what to do. We'll give them a checklist. We'll give them addresses, exactly where to send stuff, what's going to happen next, a flow chart, all of the things as a package. And there's not a fee for that. There are people that ask us to do it. Typically, those take about 100 hours getting documents, and then most of our time is spent dealing with the Department of Human Services. Fees for that, sometimes they don't have much money, and so we may only charge, $250. Sometimes though, if they have a larger estate, there's a whole lot more questions and they take longer, and those fees might be $8,000 or $9,000. But that's typically if we're protecting 100,000 or more. And so we see those cases because we deal with people that are married or for whatever reason are outside the guidelines, and they can pay us for it, or we give them their package and they can do it on their own. So yes, there's a fee. Families pay us. Communities don't pay us, families do. But if a person only has $1,000 left, well, they meet the requirements. We're going to do those on a pro bono basis, help them get the application together, submit it, follow it through. And so we don't charge for that, right? They don't have the ability to pay. Or like I have a husband and wife and I need to apply for one and all they have is 30,000 left. I'm not going to charge them. She needs every bit of the 30,000 to live at home on her own. And so subjectively, we don't charge. And certainly people are never going to go negative, you know, for us having done it for them. I would tell you, most people will just have us do it once we discuss the fee structure. And it's a value proposition. Is it valuable to them for us to do it? And if not, it's so simple that with the guide that we have, people are very successful getting this done on their own. Okay. 70% of people get disqualified that are actually qualified if they don't have any guidance. And so our part, is to give them good guidance so they can get it done on their own.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. Because it is hard to find good guidance out there. So it's really important.
Yeah.
And then while we were talking about the acquisitions of assets to the community spouse, someone did ask, does the 5-year look back apply to that?
No. The 5-year look back only applies when you give things away to someone other than a spouse or a disabled child. And sometimes there's a carve out if a brother or sister lived with the applicant for more than a year and provided their care so they didn't depend on Medicaid, we can add them to a house. But other than that, there are no carve outs. So spouses are protected from being penalized for gifts coming from the one that needed care. Husbands and wives are exempt from that transfer without fair consideration rule.
Thank you for clarifying that. And then would I be able to share some of these slides out to the SNF staff?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, no problem with that at all. Sometimes the rules change, and so it's all accurate as of today. And of course, we don't have anything in here yet about the new programs that are coming online, but yeah, certainly fine if you share the recording or if you share those slides. Yeah.
Perfect. And then someone just put in the chat, what about the caregiver exemption?
Yeah, that's a real thing. So the caregiver exemption is for sons or daughters, not grandchildren that cared for the person. It only extends to sons, daughters, brothers, sisters. It's a caregiver exemption. It means the person who lived with the applicant, not the other way around. If mom lived with the daughter, we can't add the daughter on mom's house. It is very specific. The code is the caregiver exemption applies to a son or daughter who lived with the parent and provided care for up to 2 years. It does need to be verified by a physician that they lived in home. They have to prove with a cell phone bill that's been going to that address for that long or something like that. So they absolutely check it out in order to extend the caregiver exemption, but it is really a nice option. The code on estate recovery discusses it as well. If you don't take care of the exemption on the home while the applicant's living, when estate recovery comes around, if you can make prove out those same things, then they will not recover against the home. They won't have a lien on the home. Okay.
Well, thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat, but I just want to say thank you for being available today and providing that information and those resources. They're very valuable and they're definitely needed around these times. So
we get that feedback, and so we are happy to do it. We love what we do. I've got just a whole rockin' 10-person team here, and we love what we're able to do. We also have these 15-minute instructional meetings. So a lot of social workers or business office managers will call us. And in that 15-minute, you get a good block of time to go through all the things that are causing you heartburn on these cases with one of my case managers. They'll tell you exactly how to work out. So utilize that. You know, call our office number. I think, yep, it's right there, 719-645-8350, and we'll get you guys the help that you need and information.
Well, thank you. And we are at time. So if anyone has to hop off, feel free. But thank you again. And thank you everyone for attending. I'm just going to stay on for a few minutes in case anyone has any additional questions, but definitely appreciate your time, Stacy. And I hope everyone has a good day.
All right. Thank you.